quickly start the sessions for today. Okay, so what we are going to do today is we will get into some of the basics of MATLAB. If at all I am not audible to you, and if my screen is not visible, you please let me know. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I hope my screen is visible to all of you and I'm audible. Suppose if you are not able to see the screen and if my voice is not audible, just let me know. Okay, we'll sort it out. Then we'll take it up. Okay. So today we will discuss some of the very important concepts no, in MATLAB. Uh, so the last 2 weeks, since this week and last week, we were discussing about some of the important topics in MATLAB. Particularly, we talked about how to compress an image, and that is where we developed an image compression algorithm considering wavelet transforms, and the next one was your SPIST encoding. Okay, so that is one project that we did. Okay, then we also understood some of the basic image processing techniques, like how to thin an image, how to close an image. Okay, then we also understood what is meant by edge detection. That was what we discussed yesterday. Then we also understood some of the other basic concepts of image enhancement, like using histogram techniques. Okay, and then we also did some project on traffic light traffic sign detection. Okay, so all these things we have done. So what we did all these 2 weeks was to just know the fundamentals of image processing. Okay, today also we will take up one important topic and understand the fundamentals of signal processing. Then from next week onwards, we will take a project every day. And then, before we could complete the internship, okay, we will work on at least some 6, 7 projects. So to work on those 6, 7 projects, it is required that we are familiar with all the fundamentals that we have discussed till now. Okay, and if at all there are any more mathematical concepts which are related to the project that we are going to take up from next week onwards, I will be able to explain those mathematical concepts and we will start working on it. Okay, yes. So today what we will do is we will try to do a simple concept of filter design. Okay, let us see how to do a filter design and work on the concept of filter design. Okay, so this is again one more very important technique in MATLAB. Okay, so now all of you know that there are concepts like filters in signal processing. Okay, uh, so the purpose of a filter is you have an input signal, then this input signal, okay, assume that no there is some noise available from the external source. So when you try to capture an input signal from and then no you are trying to process it, so there may be also noise available in the input signal. Now the purpose of this filter is the input signal that you capture from a sensor or capture from a real world. In addition to this noise, there may be some signals which may not be relevant to us. Okay, so we have to remove those signals using the filtering concept. Now what happens is the input to your filter x of n is basically represented as summation of s of n plus v of n. When you pass it through a filter, now you get an output called y of n. This output y of n will be a filtered output, and it will be filtering your getting your s of n, and all the noise would be eliminated. Okay, this is a simple concept of a FR filter. Okay. Now let us understand some of the very basics of the filter design. Okay, so here let us see. Yeah, see, suppose any of you are not you are not able to hear me, and if my screen is not visible, please let me know. Okay, so I can sort it out. Okay, otherwise we'll discuss now today a very important concept of filter design. Okay, yes. Now let us take for example, I'm just drawing a signal like this. So this is a sine wave. Okay, so you're able to see this is a sine wave, and we know that this sine wave has a period, one period is this, and that period is equal to t, and this t, if it will be equal to, now if you take f, f is equal to 1 by t. So we all know that the frequency is known to us, and you get a sine wave. Now, this signal, if you try to compare with this signal, okay, if I draw, and I'm trying to draw another signal now. Now, this signal, if you try to compare these two signals, now we find that the frequency of this is equal to f1, the frequency of this is equal to f2. Now, if you try to take the difference between f1 and f2, we refer f2 as high frequency signal and f1 as low frequency signal. Okay, so this is a basic understanding that all of us know what is a high frequency and what is a low frequency signal, and we see that the signal is continuous. So it is basically continuous signal, and we call it as an analog signal. Okay, now let us see what could be a digital signal. So if I try to draw a signal, which is not like this, I'm talking x-axis, then the second sample is like this, third sample is like this, fourth sample is like this, then again you come across fifth sample, sixth sample, okay? Then you start drawing all the samples. Okay. So these signal, whatever you're trying to draw here, we call this as discrete signals. Why? Because they are existing only for a certain time interval, and that is the reason why we call them as discrete signals. So okay, somebody has joined now. So you have to be, you should join by 3 o'clock or at least by 3:05. Okay, you should not join late to the class. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So we were trying to draw a signal which is a discrete signal. So this is what we call as a discrete signal. Okay. So I'm just drawing all the pulses like this. So we call this as discrete signal, and because it is existing only for discrete in time intervals, and it can also have some negative values also. So this is what a discrete signal is. Okay. Now I'll try to draw one more signal close to this. So this is another signal now. This is another signal. This is another discrete signal. And this is your x-axis. Okay, now if you try to compare these two signals, okay, in these two signals, which is low frequency and which is high frequency? Can somebody tell me which is low frequency and which is high frequency? Anybody can unmute yourself and tell me which is low frequency and which is high frequency? We will call this a signal as x1 and this signal as x2. Can somebody tell me out of these two signals which is low frequency and which is high frequency? Is x1 low frequency or high frequency, and x2 high frequency, low frequency? Anybody? Hello? Nobody is responding.
Sir, X1 is low frequency and X2 is high frequency.
Okay. Why? How do you say like that? On what basis?
So because frequency is the number of signals that is produced in 1 second. So if we were to join these lines, you get one signal, one
Ah,
repeating signal for X1, but for X2 you get twice, two signals. So that's
okay.
why X2 has higher frequency.
Okay. 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 So that is also fine. But no, when you try to talk about a digital signal, okay. Now it is not the joining these lines. You should now find out between the first sample and the second sample what you come across. What is the intensity or amplitude difference? If you take the first sample and second sample, okay, this may be equal to 2, and this may be equal to 3, and this may be equal to 4, okay, and then this is 5, and then this is 6. Okay, now if you see the difference, it may be 1 2 3 4 5 6. I think somebody is trying to join now. I think we are simply wasting time. I request all of you to join early to the class, okay? Because once you start the class, I cannot keep admitting you in the class. Yeah, no, this is entirely not correct. So I should again redraw all these things. So please join the class uh, before we could start the sessions. Okay, what I was telling you is, okay, let us take this signal X, this signal and so on. Now, if you see this amplitude difference between the first signal and second signal, second and third is maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So that is where now if you take next signal here, if I am trying to draw the signal, there is a significant amplitude change between first and second. Again, if you take third, second and third, there will be significant change. Again, between the third and fourth, again there will be a significant change in the amplitude. So when you try to see a digital signal and then find out whether it is low frequency and high frequency, the only method that we can adopt here is find out how much difference exists between the first sample and second sample. Suppose the first sample and second sample there is a very slow, less amount of difference, and again less amount of difference, again less amount of difference. If you see the difference is to be very less, we call this signals as low frequency signals. Suppose if the difference is very high, okay, the difference is if you take the difference is going to be very high. Again, the difference between this and this is very high. So whenever there's a sudden change in the signal strength, we call these signals as high frequency and these signals as low frequency. Okay. Now the concept here is, okay. Now assume that we have a signal like this. Okay, I'm just drawing a signal which is a high frequency signal like this. Okay, so this is your x-axis, and this signal is having a value equal to 3, and this may be equal to 8, and this is 4, and this is minus 3. I'm just giving some values, minus 7, and this is 2, and this is 9. I'm telling about the intensity of the signal, okay, and then this may be at minus 2. Okay, the value of the signal 2. Now by seeing the, oh my god, by seeing this signal, okay, we find that, okay, this is a high frequency signal. So do you agree? Because why it is high frequency? It is high frequency basically because the signal intensities keep changing randomly like this. 3 to 8 to 4, again from 4 to minus 3, then again minus 3 to minus 7, and so on. Because the intensity keeps changing like this, we call this as a high frequency signal. Now, I want to take this signal and pass that signal through a filter. I want it to pass through a filter. So we will now see, okay, we are trying to pass it through a low pass filter, and I want the output to be low pass filter. Now we know that the output should be, if at all you are filtering this signal, your output should be something like this. So you need an output like this because, okay, this is what we represent it as a low pass filter. So in the input signal, we find that there's a significant change in the sample amplitudes, okay, and when you pass it through a low pass filter, we find that the amplitude difference between multiple samples should not be very large. It should be almost smooth. So you find that this is all low frequency signals. Now let us understand, to convert or to transfer this signal, which is a high frequency come low frequency, it has all the frequency components, to only low frequency, you're using a low pass filter. Okay, now what is the function of this low pass filter? Why should we use this low pass filter, and why this low pass filter is able to convert the high frequency amplitudes like what are you are taken here to this? How is that possible? What is the mathematical operation going on inside this? So now we know that this sample is at 0 time, this is at 1, this is at 2, this is at 3, this is 4, 5, 6, 7. So these samples are known to us, and this is what is the sample at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, yes. Now we should understand what is the mathematical operation that is going on in this process, so that you are able to convert a high frequency signal or a low frequency signal, okay, or it may have both of the signal. You remove all the high frequency components and only get the low frequency components. What is the mathematical operation that goes on in the low pass filter? We have to now understand. Okay, let us see what is the mathematical operation there. So now to perform this process of filtering, this low pass filter will be represented by a function called h of n, which we called as the impulse response of this filter or the properties of low pass filter. This h of n is basically nothing but the filter coefficients. We represent it as FC. FC stands for filter coefficients. So now we have to see what are the filter coefficients that can be used in this low pass filter, so that if you try to pass any given signal, the output would be only low frequency signals. That means you are trying to convert these samples like 3, 8, 4, -3 and so on to maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on. So what is this trying to do now? So now to understand this, we know that low pass filter is represented by a concept called HFN, which we call as the impulse response of the filter, and also called a transfer function of the filter, which is also basically representing the filter coefficients. So now to get this output, so what we now do is, let us first compute what will be value of y naught. What is y naught now? Y naught is the first sample here. Okay, so to find out why not, what we do is, okay, see, we have only this as the input. Now we have to compute what is this sample. Okay, let me know, assume that this is not there. So now first sample, this is output. I want to compute what will be the value of the signal at displayed location 0. So we are supposed to see what is value of y naught. This is the input that we have. We are not supposed to compute value of y naught. So to compute this y naught, what we do is, let us take y naught. Y naught is equal to, okay, so at x naught, this value of this signal is equal to 3. Okay, yes, 3. Then before this, so there may be a sample at -1. Assume that there is a signal at -1. That may be, I'm assuming at this point of time, that will have a value equal to 0. I'm just assuming that it's having value equal to 0. So now what I'll do is, okay, 3 is the sample at x is equal to 0. Then there is a sample at -1. Okay, so that sample I am taking it as, okay, 0. Okay, then there is a sample after 0, that is 8. I'm taking the sample at 8. Okay, so or in other words, what I can do is I write it as 0, 3, 8. These are the three samples. Okay, one is at x is equal to 0, that is this point. Hello, somebody? Yes, x is equal to 0, and this is the sample that you come across, the previous sample, and this is the current sample, next sample. So we are taking 0, 3, 8. I'm just writing like this. Okay, yes. Now what we will do, I will try to take, or I'll average or add all the three samples, and after adding all the three samples, I'll divide it by 3. Okay, so what will be the value of the signal now after dividing it by 3? 8 plus 3 will be 11. 11 by 3 will be approximately equal to how much? If you know, it will be around 3. Okay, 3 point some value xx. Okay, yes. Okay, so it will be 3.5. So now this y naught is now equal to 3.5. I'll write it like this. This is 3.5. So how do we get the 3.5? The 3.5 we could get it by basically considering, okay, the current sample at x is equal to 0, then the previous sample and next sample, and then we divide it by 3. Okay, so this is what we did to perform this process. Okay, yes. Now let us come back to the next one. Now, what would be the sample at y equal to 1? That is x is equal to 1. So that is now your n equal to 1. So what will be the value of the sample at this point? So to find out that sample, what we will do? So at that sample, we have 8. 8 as the sample there. Previous to that, it is equal to 3. Next to that, it is equal to 4. So we take this, and then we add all the three samples. After adding all the three samples, then we divide that by 3. So what will be the value of this now? So 12 plus 3, okay, 15, 15 by 3. So it will be equal to now 5. So we'll take 5. So now we put that sample here as 5. Okay, yes. Now to find out what will be the sample next, that is at position 2. Okay, so what we need to do now at position 2, what is the samples that are available there? 4. So we'll take 4. Previous to that is 8. Next to that is -3. So we'll take it as -3. And then we add all of them. So 8 plus 4 minus 3. So 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 minus 3 is 9. So now divided by 3. So you will get it as how much? 3. So we'll now make it as 3. Okay, yes. Now what we are actually trying to do is to find out the samples of y at n equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. We are trying to find out, we are taking the current sample at x is equal to 0. Then we are trying to take a sample previous to that and a sample next to that and trying to average it. Okay, so trying to average it and then identifying the value of it and putting it here. Now, what is the mathematical operation that is actually being done? We are trying to take the average values. Now, if you try to take this average process here. We will take it process here. So 3, we are multiplying it by 1 by 3. Okay. Then 8, you are multiplying it by what? Again 1 by 3. Then if you take 4, you are multiplying 4 by again 1 by 3. Now if you try to understand this 1 by 3, 1 by 3, 1 by 3 are called as the filter coefficients. Okay. So now how did you get it as 1 by 3, 1 by 3, 1 by 3? Because we are trying to take the current sample, previous sample, next sample, and adding it and dividing it by 3. That is where we could get it as 1 by 3, 1 by 3, 1 by 3. Now, if at all I want to find out any other method, so what I'll do to find out the sample at this corresponding location of y, I can take 2 samples previously and 2 samples next current sample. So in that case, what happens? I'll add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. So I have 5 samples and I divide the 5. So what will happen now to now? The 5 samples now will become 1 by 5, 1 by 5, 1 by 5. The filter coefficients are 1 by 5, 1 by 5, 1 by 5, 1 by 5, and so on. So there are 5 filter coefficients. So in the current example that we considered, the number of filter coefficients are 3. That is, each of the values is equal to 1 by 3, 1 by 3, 1 by 3. So the order of the filter is equal to 3. In the next example, wherein if you are able to take 2 samples previous, 2 samples next, and the current sample, in that case, the filter coefficients will now be called 1 by 5, 1 by 5, 1 by 5, 1 by 5, and there are 5. The order of the filter will now become 5. Okay. So this is a simple mathematical activity that happens to perform filtering of signal. Okay. That is what we call as digital signal processing. Wherein you take a signal that may have both low frequency, high frequency, and to retain only the low frequency components, you are supposed to know what are the filter coefficients. And I just told you what is the mathematical activity that is happening here. You are taking these samples, multiplying it with the predefined numbers, which we call as filter coefficients, and then get the output. Okay. Yes. So let us now go back to the concept of your filter. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now the concepts what we discussed now. Did you follow this, or you have any doubt before we could go further? Did you follow the concept there? Okay. So let us now see how to design this filter. Okay. Yeah. So now let us understand before we could go into the design process. There are 3 important concepts. First is your input signal will be represented as x of n. Okay. Then the output of a filter will be represented as y of n. Okay. Then the filter response will be represented as x of n. This filter response will be represented by filter coefficients. These filter coefficients play a very important role in identifying what kind of filter it is all about. Okay, so whether it is a low pass filter, high pass filter, or band pass filter, so everything is decided by the filter coefficients. I just showed you a simple example how to design filter coefficients. Yes, okay. So we all know that, okay, if at all you take an input signal, filter it, you will be able to get an output. Okay. Now this filter will basically have certain properties. The properties of filter are, okay. So since all of you have studied analog electronic circuits in your 3rd semester as well as in 4th semester, so or no, you would have studied that in your signal systems also. Okay, so now let us take the response of a filter. Now this omega is equal to 2 pi f, or it is in terms of f also. So if you take a low pass filter will basically have a gain of maybe 10. Okay, I'm just telling a gain of 10 until a frequency equal to omega p or fp. Then the gain of that low pass filter will be equal to 0 after frequency fp or omega p. What is the meaning of this? That means if at all you have a signal, okay, x of n, and if that signal has frequency components from 0 to 20 kilohertz, for example, all the frequencies are available in that signal. So this is a simple example of an audio signal. Okay, whatever you are able to listen, we call it as an audio signal. So an audio signal basically will have frequencies from 0 to 20 kilohertz. All frequency components will be available in this given signal. Now, if at all I set my frequency here to be equal to 4 kilohertz, that means I want to now observe only the frequencies between 0 to 4 kilohertz, and I don't want to see, or I don't want to observe the frequencies above 4 kilohertz. Now, why are we setting it as 4 kilohertz? That means what are we trying to do filtering now? The 4 kilohertz is basically your speech data, speech signal. That means whatever we speak, whatever I'm able to speak or whatever you're able to speak, all those voice data, what is being what human produces, that will have a frequency, maximum frequency of 4 kilohertz. So I may be talking at a frequency of 1 kilohertz, 2 kilohertz, 3 kilohertz, 4 kilohertz, or no 1.1 kilohertz, 1.2 kilohertz, or somebody else may also talk at a similar frequencies, but our speech frequency will not exceed 4 kilohertz. Okay, that is where we are trying to understand. Okay, let us take a frequency equal to 4 kilohertz. Suppose you are trying to see a dog barking. Okay, that is also audible to us, but the frequency of that may not be within 4 kilohertz. It may be below, above 4 kilohertz, but less than 20 kilohertz. Okay, as not you're trying to see the music being played, a guitar being played, that is also audio signal. The frequency of that may not be within 0 to 4 kilohertz. It may be beyond 4 kilohertz. So any signal that a human being produces will have a maximum frequency of 4 kilohertz. So by setting this frequency as 4 kilohertz, you find that all the signals that are coming inside the filter, and if at all they are between 0 to 4 kilohertz, all of them will be amplified or multiplied by gain factor and sent out. But all the frequencies that are above 4 kilohertz will be multiplied by 0 and that will be filtered out. That means they will not come out of the filter. So to define a filter, you see that this is the frequency response of a filter. Okay. So here, instead of having a sharp cutoff, we have two cutoff points. One is at omega p or fp and omega s. That means this is a non-ideal filter wherein the frequency will not exactly sharp cutoff like that. It will have some transition. We call that as transition band. So if you see this picture here, all the frequencies from 0 to omega p or fp will have a gain of maybe 10, 20 or so. Okay, and if you see, the gain is not remaining constant, but it will keep changing, and that will basically what we call it as ripple in passband. This is called ripple in passband. Okay, why it is called a ripple? It is not ideal. It will have some small variations, but that variations will be very, 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 very small. Okay, maybe now if you set this average as 10, this may go to 10.2, 10.3, or it may go to 10.5. Again, it may come down to 9.5. Okay, so that could be the ripple factor in this passband. Then omega s is the stop band frequency, and above omega s, all the frequencies are basically being stopped. So now let us understand what would be the amount of attenuation in the stop band. See, attenuation is almost zero, but it cannot be ideal. In ideal cases, it's it is zero, but in non-ideal cases, it may not be exactly zero. It may have some small amount of attenuation, and that is what we call as delta 2, or we call it as attenuation in stop band. Okay, then we also have some transition bandwidth, which is basically into your omega s minus omega p is your transition band. So now some of the important parameters of a simple filter are: one is the gain in passband or ripple in passband, attenuation in the stop band, or okay, then we also have the passband frequency, stop band frequency. So these are some of the important parameters of a filter that we are supposed to consider. Now let us see how to design this filter and now use this MATLAB for designing these such filters. Okay, yes. So let me open MATLAB. So what we do is, if at all you want to design a filter and understand how the filter is all about, okay, let us see what are the special functions available in MATLAB. So you have a concept called FDA tool. See, please note down this process. Okay, if you open command prompt, you have to now type FDA tool. FDA tool stands for Filter Design and Analysis Tool. Okay, that is the tool that we are going to use now to design a filter. Okay, it is called as FDA tool. Okay, so let us see how to use this FDA tool to design this filter. So I'm just typing FDA tool and enter. So this is the inbuilt function available in MATLAB. So we are going to use this function or this toolbox, okay, to do some filter design. Again, suppose if you have installed MATLAB in your laptop, you can use this tool. So but this works with all the versions of MATLAB. Okay, it doesn't matter which version you are working with. Okay, yeah. So you will be able to This is the toolbox that is available in MATLAB, and it is defined as filtered design and analysis tool. Okay, you see that on top, filtered design and analysis tool that is available, and this is what we are going to use now. Now, let me explain you the various components of this toolbox. See the the box here, the top right, top left. You will know what is the current filter information. It will tell you what structure it is, what is the order of the filter, okay, and all. Then the filter specifications will be represented graphically here. Okay, that is the next box. Then here you see that you can define the frequency specifications. Okay, f pass, f stop, fs, and so on, and the magnitude specifications. That is the ripple in pass band, attenuation in stop band can be specified here. Okay, then you can even know select what kind of filter are you interested to design. So whether you want to design low pass, band pass, high pass, Nyquist, what kind of filter you want to design. So all this could be identified in this process. Okay, now you want to design a low pass filter. Okay, and then you want to design a equiripple filter. Multiple filters are available. Oh no, I want to design a IR filter. We can use an IR filter. Okay, yeah. Our first exercise would be to design a low pass filter. Okay. So to design a low pass filter, some of the important specifications of low pass filter are you have to now set the sampling frequency. Here, the sampling frequency is set as 48,000 hertz. This sampling frequency would be at least 10 times, okay, more than the stop band frequency. In that stop band frequency is so now 12,000 hertz. Okay, I'm taking it as 4 times of it. Okay, it is more than 2 times. So I'm taking it as 4800 hertz. You can change the sampling frequency to another number, but remember this sampling frequency, whatever you are having fs, should be minimum twice of f stop. Twice, minimum twice. Okay, it could be more than that also. Now, since our design is we are supposed to design a filter which can have cutoff frequency of 4000 hertz, I'm setting it as 4000 hertz, and then I will set the transition this stop band frequency as 5000 hertz, setting it as 5000 hertz. Ripple in pass band, I'll make it as 1 dB, and the stop band attenuation, I will make it as 60 dB. Okay, so I'm setting these parameters. Ripple in pass band should be 1 dB, and stop band frequency should be equal to 60 dB. And then I have the pass band and the stop band frequency set. So now let us see what will this filter do and how is this filter going to work. So after this, I will click on design filter. Yeah. So now we see that we have got a response of a filter, and you see here we are able to see the ripple of the filter, and that ripple of the filter it is basically less than a dB. Okay, let's just try to zoom this. So it is basically less than a dB. Okay, now it is less than 1 dB and minus 1 dB. Okay, this is the filter response. What we find if it is basically a low pass filter. Then the attenuation in the stop band, we had set it to 60 dB, so it is less than 60 dB. Okay, this also seems to be less than 60 dB. So now there is and if you see the cutoff frequency, we have set it to omega p or fp is 4 kilohertz, and this is 5 kilohertz. So if you try to zoom this also, so at 5 kilohertz it is 60 dB, and at 4 kilohertz it is less than 1 dB, okay, almost now 1 dB. So this is the response of the filter that we had intended to design. Okay, yes. Very slow. Yeah. Okay. So now what we will do is, sorry. Ah. Now if you take this entire filter, this will have some filter coefficients. Those filter coefficients can be observed or seen at this point. See, if I see on the top, I'm clicking on a button called filter coefficients. I click on that, you will know what are the filter coefficients. These are all the various filter coefficients that are required to design that filter, and there are 95 filter. The order of the filter is 95. Okay? The filter order is 95, and this is what we are able to get for this corresponding filter. So there are 95, 96 filter coefficients. So we'll use this 96 filter coefficients, okay, to achieve a filter which can have a cutoff at 4 kilohertz and no stop band at 5 kilohertz, ripple of 1 dB, and no stop band attenuation of 60 dB. Okay. Now I want to change this filter coefficients. I want to change the filter specifications. Instead of no 4 to 5,000 no stop band no and no cut this one. So now I would like to change the filter cutoff frequency. Instead of 4,000, I would like 5,000. I would like to make it a 4,500. Let us see what happens in that case. Slow laptop is very slow. Let us see. Okay, just wait for a few minutes. So this computer is not responding. Let us wait for 2 minutes.